What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here for our first player ratings video of the season. We have lost 1-0 to Everton. It's going to be a tough player ratings, this one.
Wasn't bad first player ratings of the season, that's for sure. No one really stepped up, no one really played exceptionally well. The only people we've given slightly higher ratings to is just because they just were more anonymous than the other players, you know what I mean? So, like, didn't make as many mistakes, so wasn't a good performance at all.
Yeah, let's get straight into it. Let's start off with Hugo Lloris. We gave him a 6. I thought couldn't do anything with that goal. When called upon, apart from that, I thought he did well. Nothing much really.
I can't remember too many big saves he made. No. I think most saves he made were like straight at him. I think Everton's finishing was actually quite poor on the day. A lot of their shots were off target as opposed to Hugo making saves.
Like we said in the review, though, like another day for Richarlison, he could have had 3-4 goals, but he was just really off form.
Yeah, his finishing was poor. So I think Hugo had a quiet day, but we didn't necessarily have not because there was a lack of action against our goal, just poor finishing.
Yeah. Moving on to Ben Davies, we gave him a 5. Very sloppy in the first half with that back pass to Toby Alderweireld, which should have been a goal, let's be honest. Apart from that, he wasn't great, wasn't awful. That's why I gave him a 5. I mean, not too much of no. I thought he was kind of solid, offered absolutely nothing going forward.
I disagree with that in terms of going forward. I thought, a few times he came forward and put a few nice crosses in, and made himself an option. I thought actually James did quite well against him. I thought a lot of the time James was drifting inside from the right hand side, and he wasn't sure whether to go with him or not. But he wasn't beaten too many times on his side. He was just, I think he was unsure whether to go with James when he was drifting in. But I think apart from that bad mistake he made in the first half, which should have really cost us a goal, I thought it was not terrible from Davies. I thought it wasn't that bad.
You say he was all right going forward, but he was providing an option, but apart from that, he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, because that's not his role. His role is to really stay back usually and play a bit deeper. But I thought a few times, more than I thought he would, he was actually providing an option going forward. And I know we didn't really do too much. That's why he's only got a 5. But I thought it wasn't as bad as maybe that mistake had the potential to be.
Yeah. I mean, if that's a goal, you're probably marking him down.
He's lucky. He's lucky that didn't go in, that's for sure.
Let's move on to Matt Doherty, debutant. We gave him a 5. It was an up and down display from Matt, let's be honest. I thought the first 15-20 minutes he gave away the ball a lot, and then he grew into the game, really did. Probably our best chance of the game, creating a nice little 1-2 with Harry Kane. And there was another couple of nice moments, providing good outlet on that right-hand side. You really saw his strength and his speed at times, but then at other times he tired quite quickly. Obviously, first game of the season, no real pre-season, and obviously he just played 90 minutes for Ireland as well, so it's kind of inexcusable. So, yeah, we gave him a 5, but I think there's a lot more to come from him.
I think in the first half, he was defensively anyway, he was pretty solid. I don't think he was getting caught out too many times. He was playing really, really far up the pitch. And quite a few times, actually, we were playing long raking passes to him. They didn't quite reach him. But, yeah, as you said, he grew into the game. But I thought in the first half, he would kind of had Richarlison in his pocket a bit. But then when he got to the second half, Richarlison completely took over and he struggled big time, and I think Richarlison exploited a lot of the time whenever Doherty went forward. He was completely tired, and if we hadn't used that sub on Sissoko, we probably would have swapped him for Aurier, but because we'd used that sub, we needed the other positions to be swapped out to try and go for get an equaliser. So Doherty had to remain on the pitch, and he struggled definitely near the end of the game. He struggled big time, and if Richarlison had shooting boots on, Doherty could have had a lower rating because he got beaten a couple of times. But I think there's more to come from him for sure.
Yeah. Moving on to Toby Alderweireld, we gave him a 4. I thought he lost a yard of pace. It looked like he lost a few yards of pace yesterday. You know what I mean? Like that back pass from Ben Davies, it looked like Toby Alderweireld had that under control, and then suddenly Richarlison just comes booming in, and really should have been a goal, like we mentioned before. And there were a couple of other moments where he looked a bit weak. He looked slow. The goal, it was his man. Calvert-Lewin was his man. I know Eric Dier was the one challenging him for it, but Toby Alderweireld really should have been there, and it wasn't a good display from him yesterday.
Yeah, and he didn't make any tackles. He wasn't his best game at all. Also, his passing was a bit off, I felt, as well. Yeah. His passing wasn't on point like he usually is. He did worryingly look a bit sluggish yesterday, which is a bit of a. It wasn't just that moment where with the Richarlison chance. There was a couple other moments, as you said. I remember one with Calvert-Lewin in the second half. It goes over his head, and he didn't have the energy to go back and get to Calvert-Lewin.
I thought Calvert-Lewin was pretty much running rings around him and Dier.
And there was a moment, where Calvert-Lewin pulls the ball back to James Rodriguez, and Toby and Dier weren't near him. So it was a bit of a worry. But hopefully he'll improve over the season, I'm hoping. It wasn't a good game from him for sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't disaster like the worst game ever, but it just wasn't up to Toby's high standards.
Moving up to Eric Dier, we gave him a 4 as well. Like I mentioned for Toby Alderweireld, Eric Dier nowhere when Calvert-Lewin was scoring that goal. I mean, Eric Dier should be towering over Calvert-Lewin, or at least challenging him, but there was nothing. Calvert-Lewin made it look like he was challenging Lionel Messi or someone, or Lucas Moura, you know what I mean? It looked like...
Moura's good at heading, actually.
Yeah, I know. Good point. But, I'm saying someone short that can't header. Mm-hmm. That's what it looked like. And I thought it was a sloppy display from Dier. Passing wasn't really great. And, yeah.
I think yesterday really showed what maybe that Sanchez, what he really brings from a defensive side. Because yesterday, how many times did there were balls in behind? The strikers were using their pace, and just Dier and Toby weren't athletically up to it really as much as Sanchez. As much as I criticise Sanchez for his on-the-ball play, off the ball he's clearly another level at the moment to Toby and Dier. So that's something Jose has to look at. I think Sanchez has a lot to improve, but I think yesterday really showed what we miss when he's not on the defence. To
be honest, I think our best two are Toby and Sanchez. I think Dier doesn't... I don't know what this love affair is with Eric Dier. Yeah, he's put in a few good performances, okay performances, but he doesn't warrant the kind of trust that Jose's putting in him.
He's got a lot to prove. I think he has had some good performances, and I think he says he sees himself as a centre-back, but I don't think he was awful yesterday. It just wasn't, when you're trying to establish yourself as first choice, it wasn't commanding. It wasn't that performance where you say I'm not leaving you out. He was too good. It just wasn't like that. Yeah. And a lot of the time, Dier, he puts in good games and then he lets himself down, like against United, like he gave away the penalty, and against Sheffield United, and he gives away sloppy moments. And I think there was another one yesterday. He should have dealt with that. It was a free kick, and he didn't. But other than that, it wasn't horrific. I think Toby was worse than him overall from a defensive side. But again, he let himself down.
I mean, people were going in on him hard on social media after the game yesterday, calling him a championship player.
No, it's a bit harsh.
But anyway, let's move on to Harry Winks. We gave him a 4. I was really frustrated with Harry Winks yesterday. I thought he was playing the CDM role, which I thought shouldn't have been his role anyway. I thought Hojbjerg should have been playing there. But when he was on the ball, he wasn't imaginative enough. I thought just sideways passes, backways passes, just doesn't fill you with any sort of confidence whatsoever. And he wasn't even doing a great job winning the ball back either. So I don't even know what he was in the team for yesterday.
I think first half there was a period in the second half of the first half where I think him and Hojbjerg were actually clicking quite well, winning the ball out of the pitch. He was passing it forward in good transitions. 10
minutes of the game.
Yeah, I think the second half of the first half, I would say there was a decent period. But other than that, yeah, I mean the problem I had with him taking Winks off is once he took Winks off, we just had no one on the pitch who could get the ball down and pass it at all. And I know people criticise his lack of adventurous passing, but at least it's crisp. It's at least his passing is accurate a lot of the time. And when we had Hojbjerg and Sissoko in a double pivot, I'm sorry, it just wasn't going to work at all. We weren't going to get players in positions to hurt the opposition because their passing's just nowhere near quick enough or crisp enough like Winks is. So that's what he brings to the team. But yesterday, yeah, as you say, I think him and Hojbjerg should be swapping positions if they're going to play in a pivot role like that. But I am getting increasingly worried by Winks, to be honest. I am getting increasingly worried that maybe his quality isn't good enough, because I do continue to back him and I still am a fan of him, and maybe in a different team he would be better. But I just feel like for Mourinho's side, I don't know if he's up to a double pivot role like we require. And hopefully he'll prove us wrong, but it's increasingly looking like that.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. We gave him a 4 as well. For me, he was just too much of a headless chicken. Like I said for Winks, I felt like them, like you said as well, that their position should have been changed. And I thought, personally, Hojbjerg was brought in to protect the defence, not to kind of press from the front or the furthest playing midfield player. I really thought that he was going to be sitting in front of the defence mopping up. But yesterday I thought he was a headless chicken, running into challenges without really thinking too much, bit of brainless. Probably could have got sent off. Maybe shouldn't have been, but could have been.
I think Hojbjerg in the first half, you can make the whole video first half and second half. But first half, I thought he wasn't too bad. I thought he was actually winning quite a few good challenges. A lot of our chances or a lot of our good opportunities came from him winning the ball in centre mid in good positions and in setting up good transitions as well. But once there was one moment, it was right at the end of the first half, he got spun by Richarlison. I was like, oh my god, that did not look good at all. And then all of a sudden, second half comes along, especially after we conceded. He was just all over the shop. He really was. He was getting spun every day of the week. It was so easy for players to get away from when he was trying to press tight and players were spinning off him. He was committing. How many fouls did he commit? So many fouls. 3 or 4 fouls.
I'm saying he could have got sent off.
He could have got sent off. He was he was going into so many duels, and he just wasn't. Sometimes you have to. Obviously, it's really good to be pressing all the time, force oppositions into mistakes. But sometimes you also got to stand off and wait for them to be side on to be able to win a tackle. And I felt like yesterday he was kind of just going 100 the whole time, and it was easy to know what he was going to do and anticipate his movements. And at the end, I think he by the end of the game, for that, especially that last half an hour, he was shocking. He was really bad, and his passing was a bit all over the place as well. So I think he's got a lot to improve on. I think he was maybe too desperate to impress yesterday. Maybe that's one part of it. But I think yesterday started off okay, but ended off disastrously.
Yeah, could be down to fitness at the end of the day. Let's move on to Lucas Moura. We gave him a 4 as well. Lucas Moura, he ran a lot, that's for sure. I thought he ran a lot. But he doesn't provide enough going forward. And that's just the simple thing with Lucas Moura that we can repeat every single game pretty much. That he runs so much, does a lot of work for the team, but doesn't contribute enough going forward. And I think his expected goals and expected assists told the story.
0 and 0, not even 0.01, which is like if you pass a player like on the halfway line and they have a shot, that's like an 0.01 expected assist. They didn't even have that.
Yeah.
I actually thought Lucas... Toby a number of times found him in really good positions, like he was passing it nicely into him, and he just lost it, or he just didn't find a pass, or he didn't provide anything. He was trying a couple dribbles. The only really time we saw Lucas in a positive light was on breakaways. He looked quite dangerous, but again, there was one moment second half we broke away from a corner, but Decore just mopped it up. He looked like he was going to go through on goal. I know Lucas provides a lot, and after lockdown he was putting in some really good performances, but yesterday he was just frustrating again. Wasn't direct enough when he got in position in front of goal, and he didn't provide enough attacking threat whatsoever. He's always a threat with his dribbling, but he needs to start translating that into real outputs in front of goal, passes into the box, goals and assists. And without that, you're relying even more heavily on Son and Kane, and when they're not on it, then all of a sudden we got nothing.
Yeah. Heung-Min Son, we gave him a 5. I thought first half was a lot better from him from the second half. I thought first half, at least when we were looking good on the counter-attack, he was a lot to do with that, I thought, providing that outlet on the left-hand side, albeit didn't provide a goal or an assist.
Should have found Kane, should he, on that counter?
Exactly. Should have found Kane. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was like 3 or 4 moments where he could have played it into Kane, but then he decided to play it into Dele, and then Dele missed. Dele probably should have finished it at the end of the day, but
look, it would have been a good finish. He finished it.
Yeah.
Kane had an easier chance if he played
definitely.
it into Kane.
But second half with Heung-Min Son, I felt every time the ball came into him, it just literally bounced off him. He couldn't get it under control, and just not good for Sonny. Second half, if it was just second half, he would have got a 2.
Yeah, he was really off colour second half. As you say, every time people played like strong passes into him, he couldn't control for Toffee. But there was one moment in the first half. He actually had a really good opportunity. I think Doherty puts a ball in. Dele competes for the header, falls to Son on the left hand side of the box, and he has a shot. And it's a really good block by Michael Keane, because if Keane doesn't block it, I think it goes into the back of the net and it finds the corner. But it was a very good block. He looked a lot more dangerous. He probably looked our most dangerous attacker, to be honest, in the first half. Yeah. He looked like the only one really trying to ask questions of the Everton backline. Other than that, though, second half, it was pretty anonymous. Whenever he got the ball, it was he was, as you say, bouncing off him, and he looked really off colour, and he needs to up his game a bit.
Moving on to Dele Alli, we gave him a 3. He got taken off at half time, obviously, but when he was on, it just wasn't a great display. I mean, he carried on his form from the Watford game, I felt, just not providing anything really. I think the only thing he was provided, what you mentioned in the match review, was that he was creating space for the other ones, just being there, and that was all he provided really.
Yeah, I think the fact that the substitution of Mourinho, I'm not arguing Mourinho was maybe right in taking Dele off, because Dele wasn't good in that first half at all, but the fact that he brought on Sissoko and changed the shape like he did, that was the big error. It wasn't necessarily the personnel, because Dele was at his most frustrating best, I felt, in the first half. He was
Dele's brother yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. He was giving away possession all the time, not creating anything. He nearly got a goal through on the counter, but it was a good save by Pickford. But other than that, he didn't really create. He wasn't really around. He attempted a header which Michael Keane just about headed away. But other than that, he wasn't much of a threat to Everton. And the fact of the matter is, when he went off, our attack looked a lot worse than it did when he was on the pitch. But that's more to do for me.
That substitution nullified our attack. It was as simple as that.
Yeah. And if I was to know now that Mourinho would have brought in Sissoko, I would have told him, don't do that. Just keep Dele on. I'd rather Dele on the Sissoko.
Mourinho's got to have you in the year.
Lamela, I would have brought in Lamela rather than Sissoko and keep that formation, because I thought a few moments in the first half we actually did create some chances, and I think Mourinho completely got that wrong.
You know what it is with Ali? I think it gets to his head sometimes when he's playing well, because he played well first couple of pre-season games, and then, you know, you get Mourinho banging on about him, you get Dier banging on about him, and since then he has been awful. He's been shocking. You know, you got that Watford friendly and yesterday. So I think there could be some legs to that.
Maybe. I don't know about that. We'll see.
Harry Kane, we gave him a 4. I think he played more in midfield than up front, to be honest. He was dropping deep a lot. But look, I don't think he offered much to anyone.
I think it took him till the 80th minute to have a touch in the box. He had
Just remember that heat map they showed of him in the first half or something?
Didn't have one touch in the box in the first half. He was playing way too deep. But the thing is, if he's going to play deep, then the other two players, more Lucas, Son and Zane, exactly, they got to occupy the space that he leaves him behind, and they're not doing that. They're not providing that. So that's a big problem as well with the team. Kane would probably be frustrated he wasn't played in by Son. He probably would have got a goal there if he's played in. And he's also probably frustrated that Doherty didn't finish that chance, because it was a delightful through lob over the top of the defence by Kane to feed Doherty, and Doherty's finished straight at Pickford, unfortunately. Other than that, he was really anonymous. He was very quiet.
What hurts me about the Harry Kane performance is in the second half, I saw him stop running. Jose Mourinho was banging on about how the attackers were lazy to press, and he was very much part of that, and you don't really expect that from someone like Harry Kane, who's supposed to be the model professional and the best trainer and all that. You don't really expect that, and it's not good to see.
Well, you can't. Yeah, I guess. I think he was pressing actually quite well in the first half.
Yeah, I'm talking about second half.
Yeah, but you can't. It's hard to keep that up for 90 minutes, isn't it? You can't run for 90 minutes. You need to pick your moments, I think, along the time.
At the end of the day, when you're losing 1-0 and Everton have got all the possession in that second half, you have to press them. You have to.
Yeah, but hence why we need an alternative to Kane.
Yeah.
Because that's what really hurts us. Because when Kane tires and when Kane's...
That's for sure.
And then all of a sudden you're expecting all this running and all this pressing all the time, and he's human like anyone else. He can't keep up for every second of the game, and it's really. I know it's frustrating when you see him not running, chasing down every loose ball and everything when we're losing. But the fact of the matter is, we need another striker to help him out with that, and we need alternatives. And at the moment we're struggling on that front. But he'll be frustrated, I think, with his performance and with how the game went for sure.
All right, That's the starting lineup. Let's move on to the substitutes. Moussa Sissoko, we gave him a 4. He came on at half time for Dele Alli. Like we've said many times after this game, the wrong change by far. Completely nullified our
Offered
attack.
us nothing going forward.
I don't think he offered anything at all. I mean, he lost the ball a lot of times. He got it. I mean, he was playing stray passes and stuff like that. He wasn't the Moussa Sissoko combative in midfield, really chasing down their midfielders. I mean, you would have thought James Rodriguez or Allen or someone would have a little less space to breathe in that second half, but wasn't really the case.
Yeah, he started on the right hand side and moved over to the centre. I thought he looked a bit better in the centre than he did on the right, but I don't know what Mourinho was thinking, because Sissoko's just not a passer of the ball. You can't have him in a double pivot with Hojbjerg alongside him and expect it to work. I think on when he was playing on the right hand side as well, it was so easy for Dier to just have time and space on the left hand side. He wasn't really tracking his run either, and it was a really poor display. He made a couple of nice runs, that's all. I remember there was one time he made a trick inside and found a man, but other than that, it was quite a poor second half display by Sissoko, and I think it was really the wrong substitution.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on to Steven Bergwijn. He came on in the second half. We gave him a 2, lowest rating of the day. I mean, I was talking about Harry Kane and Son and Ali offering nothing, but this guy, he literally offered absolutely nothing at all. I mean, the stats were just 0, 0, 0, 0 for him.
He had half an hour as well.
Yeah.
It's not like he had 5 or 10 minutes. He had half an hour, so he had a bit of time. I felt a bit bad for him because he came on, and initially I think we put him in the centre. That wasn't quite working. We moved out to the left, and that wasn't all quite working. So he was shifted out a bit, and he had to play a few positions in over the course of the time he was on, but he really struggled. He really offered nothing, and you expect Stevie to kind of at least have a few shots, beat a couple players and have a shot, exactly, be a direct,
have a go at them.
like he is, just be a bit direct and offer something. But he really did not have a good time of it, and you could argue he would argue that it took him time to get in the game and he had to play a few positions, but he struggled big time.
If you're coming on off the bench, you need to make an instant impact. That's what it is.
And he struggled.
You don't have long to make that impact, so you got to come in and you got to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and make something happen, and he didn't do that. Moving on, the last substitution of the day was Ndombele. Came on about 15 minutes to go. We gave him a 5. It was an interesting display. Everyone's so excited every time they see him on the bench, see him on the starting lineup, whatever. But it's the same story every time he comes on. He looks good for a few minutes, few nice touches. He played one ball as soon as he got it, straight down the middle of the pitch. Straight down the middle of the pitch. That looked like, all right, come on, we're going to get something here. And then he just reverts into his, I don't know what it is. It's either he looks lethargic on the pitch or he's actually completely knackered. I don't know what it is.
I don't think that was the problem. I don't think he was tired. It was just that he was trying things and he was being quite wasteful. And when you only have 15...
I thought he did look tired.
No, I don't think he looked tired. I don't think that was the issue. I don't think he was tired. I think he had 15 minutes on the pitch. He was trying all these different things, lob through passes, all these different passes.
He was trying too hard.
And I think when he first came, he actually kept it simple and direct, progressive passing. I was like, okay, but then he started trying all these different things.
This is all in the space of 5 minutes.
Literally, all in the space of 5 minutes. And
he saw the ball quite a lot.
Yeah, he did. And at least I commend him for at least trying to get the ball forward and trying to be progressive and trying to help the team get something. But I think
least it was something different.
It was something different. It wasn't just sideways and backwards like the other midfielders. So I think I commend him for that. But he unfortunately didn't quite come off for him. I'd like to see him get a run in the team. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was something different, but it just didn't really work.
I mean, how much were we crying out for Giovanni Lo Celso yesterday?
Big time.
You know what I mean? I reckon if we would have had Giovanni, we would have won that game.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, probably can be a whole different story.
Because he's the one that's so good in the transition.
We shouldn't be so reliant on him, though. We just shouldn't be so reliant on him. We shouldn't be so reliant on one player.
But it's how we were so reliant on Christian Eriksen. Remember when he wasn't playing? The whole attacking fluidity used to fall apart.
That's a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem.
Big problem.
And Lo Celso doesn't even have the creative output that Eriksen has.
So, I mean, I don't know. Well, hopefully we'll find a solution in the way forward. Football's
Tanguy could be that solution.
I hope so.
All right, well, that is the first player exit this season. Let me know in the comment section below if you agree with our ratings. If you don't agree with our ratings, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, come on, you Spurs.